Well, welcome to this episode and live stream of Sooner Legends podcast. Today, I got my brother from another mother, Jason Watkins from Hall of Fame Media. The horns down, my brother. And we're going to be discussing the new commitment of Marcus Willard, some spring practice stuff, and whatever else comes to our rabbit ass mind. So here we go. Let's kick this mule.
Through 153 games, our record was 125, 24, 4, 2 now. People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.
Oklahoma invented it.
That's right. Don't y'all ever forget it. Well, welcome to this live show of Sooner Legends podcast. I'm your host, Mike the Legend, and as y'all can tell, I got my partner in crime, Jason Watkins from Hall of Fame Media. And if y'all love college football, especially our beloved Oklahoma Sooners, then you have found the home for your nonstop shop, whether it's historical or now. But a couple of house cleaning things. Can you hit that red subscriber button, turn on your post notification bells? That way you won't miss any of this luscious, delicious content that I will be uploading. Now, the famous saying is wipe y'all's feet. I got new carpet. Pull your damn shoes off.
That means hit the bell too. Hit the bell.
That means so.
Nice.
Jason, how we doing, my brother?
Good, brother. It's good to be on the show. Appreciate you having me. Yeah, man, that gumbo is fire, like Bishop Frank says.
Yes, sir. Hello, Bishop.
It's always good to come in and talk Oklahoma football. You know, we've been talking a little bit these last couple of days. They just keep on sleeping on these Sooners, man. I love it.
They keep on.
Let them sleep. Let them sleep.
Well, I got a funny story about our newest commitment, Marcus Willard. This one caught me by surprise. I didn't know about him. I didn't know we was after him until my news alert went off. So I'm like, Marcus Willard, Bauxite, Arkansas. Okay. So I went and checked out all of the recruiting pages on 3 Rivals 24/7. So I jump into Jay's Discord. And I said, guys, am I supposed to get excited about this recruit? I mean, because I'm not feeling the excitement. But Jay, I know in the back of his mind, he was laughing, God bless him. But he put up his attributes. And Jason, have you seen what this guy can do?
Yeah, I was watching him whenever it came up. I remember hearing about him already. And I immediately, the first thing I look at, because I've been saying this a lot lately, we got to stop looking at stars. You got to stop looking at stars. The stars don't mean shit. He had 3 other SEC offers. He was offered from Michigan. He was offered from Michigan, Wisconsin, Oregon. So he had 3 Big Ten offers and he had 4 SEC offers along with about 20 more, right? So that tells you that this kid, he's the real. Then you go look at his video, and this guy is a knock your head off type of dude. He's coming downhill. Go ahead, and he's the type of dude that's going to meet you in the hole, and he's going to win. You know, he's going to win. So, I mean, this is you call them thumpers, you want to call them headhunters, you want to call them whatever. This is the kind of guy. But I knew something of him. I didn't hear a ton about him because, again, these guys kind of get under the radar, Mike. They just don't get seen a lot. It's not a perfect science. It's real easy to just give everybody that's being recruited by Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State 5 stars and 4 stars or high 4 stars or whatever. It's easy to do that.
Right.
They don't see them all.
Well, since
Nigel Smith would have been a 5-star if he would have went to Ohio State.
Well, since I've started podcasting and going listening to you and Jay and Coop and PG and K Chris and all them guys, I'm like you. I don't pay attention to stars. I look at who has offered the prospect. And like you said, when you see Alabama and some big time schools in the SEC that offered him,
right.
And then when I went, I watched Ty's show this morning when he discussed Willard.
Yeah.
And God dang, it just
that he wants to take his soul.
And you know, adding him to a secondary that's already stacked assholes to elbows. I mean, what is there not to get excited about? You know? And so Ty said he was a headhunter. And here's what Jay and Coop brought this up on their live yesterday. He's just not only a safe or a cornerback or a safety, whatever he's going to play. He plays offense, he plays defense, I think they got him listed as an athlete. So good God, we're getting a Swiss Army knife, so to speak.
Yeah, man. And it's the kind of guy, listen, you look at how deep that room is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of guys are going to look at that and be like, no, I'm not going to go there. You know, I'm not going to get on the field. You want a dude like this, it's like, I don't give a shit who's there.
Right.
I'm going to get on the field because I'm going to go and be that guy that, like Brian Dawkins said, you know, you've seen that short of Brian Dawkins when he was on the Eagles saying, I want to take their soul.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You know, he's telling Takeo Spikes that. So, yeah, hey, look at the dude. He's a monster. A monster.
6'1", 200. I think that's what
I don't care. I don't even care if it's 200. You look at that dude's body and he's ripped up. The thumbnail that I put on my video this morning, that picture of him in comparison to the guys that are already in the house, he looks like the big alpha dog to me. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just gotta say,
and
stop looking at stars, ladies and gentlemen. Stop looking at stars.
And Ty brought this up too. He is bench pressing defensive line weight.
Yeah.
On the bench.
Yeah.
God.
Who's gonna win in the Oklahoma drill against that cat?
Exactly. I just don't see it happening. But like I said, I know Jay was laughing at my comment, but man, I went and looked at some of his highlight reels on YouTube, and this kid in high school has some sure enough ESPN highlight reels.
Oh yeah, brother. He's the real deal. He's definitely the real deal. There's no two ways around it. It's just, that was the first thing. Like I said, I went to go see who was all was recruiting him. And, you know, then the next thing I did was I wanted to make sure that what he looked like on film. And to me, I don't understand how. I think they have him as a 4-star on Rivals. And so that means he's been looked at somewhere. But the fact is you know, there's been people around the Big Ten, around the, you know, and if you look at why is it that you think, you know, Michigan's after him? That's exactly the kind of guy that they like to recruit. Those big, nasty dudes that may be flying under the radar a little bit. They generally don't have a better recruiting ranking than about 15. But if people think that Ohio State are just automatically going to beat Michigan this year because Harbaugh's gone and they have a new quarterback, I think they're sadly mistaken. They still have big, nasty cats in that system that are ready to continue on, right? And this is the kind of guy that you're getting there. And if you're adding guys, I mean, Dan Lanning knows who he's looking at. He was the defensive coordinator at Georgia before he went to Oregon.
Exactly. You know? And Stephen G brought this up. Stoney, dang near at 300 pounds, and he's been there since when? The end of December when they come on, or January when they got on campus, and he's pushing 297 now, dude. And Danny Okoye up to 360 or 260. I'm sorry. I mean, guys, what's not to love? I mean, God Almighty, Smitty is.
Well, and who do you
boys.
trust more, Mike? Who do you trust? Whose evaluation do you trust more? Some guy that may or may not have seen him in person and heard something about him at Rivals or 247 or whatever, or do you trust when Brandon Hall or Jay Valai or Coach Venables goes and sees them?
I trust them over On 3 Rivals 24/7 any day of the week.
Every one of them, absolutely.
And Brandon Hall is, guys, he is recruiting like his hair's on fire.
That's the entire staff, man. Every one of them are all-star recruiters. On top of that, this is why I said to start the show, let them keep sleeping, because all they keep doing is loading up the cupboard.
Exactly. And you know, the way I'm perceiving it, Jason, is going into this year. I don't, if God forbid it happens, I don't want it to happen. But if somebody gets hurt, we got that, knock on wood, competitive depth that somebody's going to step in. You got Eli Bowen and them guys.
Yeah, you keep hearing about him too. You keep hearing all about him. And Coop was talking about it right here on your show last week, that he was the guy that led, Denton Geyer in interceptions for 2 years in a row. And then Jen was talking about on the video that I had this morning that he got hurt during the playoffs in Jackson and Peyton's senior year. And so it kind of messed him up, because they basically ran what's his name away from him. The guy that's down at Texas, when they lost that game in the semifinal, they didn't really have anybody to cover them. They had, at that point, they had like 3 defensive backs that were D1 SEC guys. You know, you had Peyton and Eli, and plus the kid that went to LSU. I'm trying to remember his name, Austin something or other. But he, if it hadn't been for him getting hurt, they likely could have ended up winning the state championship that year, because him being hurt was a big deal.
Yeah, Stephen G has a question for you. Where is Joe John Finley's all-star recruiting?
Pretty sure that when you look at the tight end that we just got as a freshman there, Stephen G, he saved that recruiting. Him and Michael Hawkins. I got to give Michael Hawkins part of that on it too, because they play together at Allen. But
yeah,
Devon Mitchell wouldn't be there. Devon Mitchell would not be there if not for Joe John Finley. And I'll tell you another one, that as much as Emmett Jones was involved in it, the kid out of Odessa High School. You know who I'm talking about.
I know which one you're talking
right now. But the receiver, he's that dude. Yeah. Yo, and that's what I'm saying. Joe John definitely, but he held down the Devon Mitchell one, because if you remember, carry on. Yep. If you remember though, what was the first, when it was announced that Lebby was taking the job at Mississippi State, Devon Mitchell immediately tweeted like, "Uh-oh." Like he was, basically a now what kind of deal. And within a day, he was locked up. He was back all in.
Well, that's another room that I'm excited for, that we haven't seen in a while at OU, is the tight end room. And this Byers Sharp, God dang.
Good. Yeah.
He is a stud.
That's actually a very good observation too. Would he be there if not for Joe John?
Exactly.
I think he's a rising star, man.
Yeah.
I think he's a rising star.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at him, I mean, would you want to go out on a limb and say he's got bulldozer type size on him, like Blake Bell was?
He's probably meaner than Blake too. What it looks like. A little more athletic, because Blake, Blake's just but Blake is the guy that could stay in and block, and he'd make a catch here and there. He's still in the league. I mean, Blake's done a great job. But I mean, this guy looks like a real, just an athlete, another type of athlete, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Coop says watch for the names in 25 at tight end: Desan Brahmi, Chase Lofton, and Roberts. We will take 3 of these.
Yeah. Well, and like Roberts, yeah. See, like Roberts, he's what, number 1 or 2 on the list right now, and that's Jake's little brother, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
There you go. So I think that this is a big deal, and they weren't going to get him unless they went. I mean, that was smart on their part to go get him out of the portal, and of course, he worked with Latrell too. So there's a lot of familiarity there.
There sure is, and we don't need to discuss the wide receiver room. We already know what it's out.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's the funny part about it is the same thing I've been saying, and it's the same thing that my video this morning was about. Nobody's talking about this secondary.
Mm-mm.
You know, if you remember that whenever Coach I had his last Saturday night snap count, and they were talking about the guys that they have. Well, you know, obviously when you have Caleb Downs and then Malachi Starks, which is there at Georgia, and he was talking about how they're 1A and 1B or whatever. And I brought up from the comments section, I was like, you guys ain't even talking about Peyton Bowen, and he's the same kind of dude. And they kind of dismissed that. Well, and I understand that they don't watch a ton of Oklahoma football. When you start looking at what's going on all around the country, it's the same thing. Nobody's paying attention to the fact that it's got, I mean, let me go down a list here for you real quick.
Okay.
What they've got in the last, in 2022 when they came in, they got Robert Spears Jennings, Gentry Williams, Kenai Walker, Jaden Rowe. All those guys were in that class that he had to save from Lincoln leaving. Then in 23, he gets Peyton Bowen, Makari Vickers, both top 100 guys, Josiah Wagner, who's a top 200 guy, Kendall Doby, the number 1 defensive back in JUCO, and Eric McCarty. Plus, you got our boy Jacoby Johnson, who was just outside the top 100. He was like 104 or something like that, right? So, and he's been flashing a lot lately.
Exactly.
And then already in 2024, I mean, 2024 it's an embarrassment of riches. Reggie Powers III already flashing, right? Already looking like he could be a starter. Jaden Hardy already looks the part. Michael Boganowski flashing. Eli Bowen showing that he may be just like his brother. You know, Michael Patterson McDonald, you've seen him play. Devon Jordan, Jeremiah Newcomb, son of Bobby Newcomb, who was a stud at Nebraska. That's not even mentioned in the portal, guys. Jocelyn Malaska from Utah and Des Malone from San Diego State, who's also flashing. You know, there's this is, I mean, they are loading up in there and nobody's talking about them. When I watched Josh Pate the other day or last week sometime, and he was talking about what he expects to be the top defenses in the country, of course he goes to Ohio State and Georgia. Georgia's replacing their entire defense, most of its defense. Now, do you give them the benefit of the doubt that Kirby knows what he's doing? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And then, you know, with what Ohio State has, and then they got, you know, obviously they got Caleb Downs coming in with it. You should give them the benefit of the doubt that they were one of the top defenses in the country a year ago too. They've got most of them coming back and they're loading up, you know, through the portal as well. But you don't give Brent Venables and his crew the benefit of the doubt in year 3 with the way that they recruit and have recruited at places that, you know, Clemson's not a blue blood. It's not a brand like Oklahoma. It's not. But
and we've seen
nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, nobody's talking about that third year Brent Venables being the DC at Clemson. What happened? I mean, he
was number 2 in they were number 2 in total and scoring defense, number 1 in takeaways. They were the number 1 overall defense in the country.
Yeah. And I like what Coop says here. There's not a better safety room than Oklahoma. Bowen, and Robert Spence.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. You know, they came in and got these guys, and, you know, Robert Spears Jennings, okay, yeah. I mean, he looked like he was going to be pretty good. I don't know where he was getting offers at. But I'm telling you this. I mean, look at Kanai Walker. He started looking when Gentry went out at the end of last season. Kanai started looking a lot better.
He sure did.
Right? He started looking a lot better. And then they go out there and they identify Kendall Doby. Yeah, he was the #1 JUCO prospect in the country. But, I mean, I don't know who else was really on him. I know he was locked into OU early.
He was.
That dude is a nasty dude, right? Looks like he can, if they don't end up, if Harrington doesn't get as healthy as they need, I don't think they're going to concern themselves that much at Cheetah because he looks like he was born to play the spot.
He does. That just seems like to be a natural fit for him, Jason. And I tell you, I'm hoping that the injury bug has been exercised out of this young man's body is Jaden Rowe, because
dude, he's a big boy. Yeah, he looks like a stud too.
I'm hoping that he can keep that injury bug away from him and come out and show us what I know, because that's another one that has slipped my mind. I watched him up in Tulsa. God Almighty!
Yeah.
Well, he played at Booker T, I think.
With Gentry, right? He played up there at the same time as Gentry. Yeah. Yeah, man. Those guys from Booker T and all those. Yeah, hey, man, there's like a handful of schools in Oklahoma that they're putting out as good of players as any school in Texas. They're just not as highly regarded because there's not that depth, I'm
going to shout out to TP Girl One, or
TP.
She says I trust BB to coach up the O-line, and I trust BB to take us to an 11-1 record. Call me crazy, but that's my take. I've got a video out that Oklahoma history repeats itself. Y'all can go check it out. But anyway, that's what I was going to bring up, Jason. Everybody, it's the doom and gloomers with this fan base.
Sure.
I mean,
sure. Everything that happened last year is going to happen again. They're not going to do better. Blah 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 blah.
Now here's my take on the O-line. Yeah, I mean, me and you talked about this all last season, and we talked about it after season about Stoney, all the great defensive recruits that we got on the D line.
Right.
They are living up to their potential as what we thought they was going to live up to. Now, just because they're wrecking the offensive line right now, to me, Jason, it's in a good spot for the offensive line, because I don't want to see this offensive line peak too early. I want to see, them go on, get better, and not peak too soon.
Yep.
And we got some players on that line. You got Wee Woo, and I think Hatchett's a little banged up, but you got these. I've been hearing good things about Eugene Brooks. So
yeah, no doubt. I would tell you that you have to remember what was left. I don't know. I think it may have been Coop. It may have been Coop that was talking about it, but what was left of that defense when Lincoln left? Aside from who was the kid that went with Caleb Williams and Mario Williams to USC, the defensive back. I forget. Anyway, he's not the McCutcheon, right? Was it McCutcheon? I don't remember his name. Anyway, the bottom line is that there was nothing. The rest of those guys weren't exactly being gobbled up by, McCutcheon. Okay. They weren't exactly being gobbled up by the biggest and baddest programs in the country, which tells you that not only were we down 13 guys off of that depth chart, because they were, the guys that didn't go to the NFL or didn't go into the draft or whatever, plus the guys that left in the portal somewhere. How many of those cats were leaving and going to a big time program aside from McCutcheon? Because I don't think there were any. I don't think there were any. And that's the whole point, is that you have to go back and you need to pay attention to the fact that there was really, the cupboard was absolutely bare. And as much as everybody gives Lincoln Riley the credit for flipping around USC into what it was the next year, which you bring in a Heisman candidate, They don't play a lot of defense in the Pac-12 or the Pac-Deuce, whatever is left now. But they don't play a lot of defense there, and they have the Heisman winner. And, you know, he takes him with him, Mario Williams. He goes and tampers to get Jordan Addison and all these other guys. And so, yeah, they flipped it around. Good for them. But they don't realize, and, you know, they want to give him all the credit for over there, but they don't want to give him any of the credit for what he left at Oklahoma. And for them to be able to flip it around at USC, you had to do some things. I mean, you lost both your quarterbacks, you know, and thank God for Dylan Gabriel. As much as everybody likes to trash on Dylan, you know, what he meant for this program the last couple of years was immeasurable. But by and large, there were three guys, well, I guess four, that are still there from that defense that were able to make it, you know, and obviously it's Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, Ethan Downs, and then Woody, you know. But Woody looks like, you know, there's another thing that Coop was saying the other day. Woody looks like he's on his way out. At least that he's going to be playing nickel and he's going to be a situational guy, which is, you know, that's all well and good. But you've got a lot of guys back there that are doing this. But the fact that they could build as quickly as they have, and I mean, you know, is it ever going to be enough for Oklahoma or for Oklahoma fans in the heat of the fire? No, of course not.
No,
of course not. We're going to expect you to you know, for lack of a better term, shit out a great product right now, even though it just wasn't there. You know what I mean? But and it's funny to me though that he doesn't get any credit for doing that, right? It's just a matter of he gets all the blame. You know, you heard that stupid narrative that was spread by Lincoln and freaking dumbasses like Colin Cowherd that Oklahoma's blue chip ratio meant that they should still be winning. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. None of those guys were, and the blue chip guys were not. I mean, which one of them? Show me the guy. Show me the guy that was supposed to carry their asses. You know, they had to do that. They had to do that, right? And so, yeah, the guys that stayed around, thank God for Billy Bowman. Thank God for and thank God for Danny Stutzman too. You know, but who was really after them either?
Exactly. Well, I agree with this. What Coop said. No offense to Woody, the talent has caught him. Yes, that is exactly right.
Exactly what he was saying on your show. Yeah.
But like you say, he'll be probably used for situational stuff.
Yeah, and to be a voice in the room because he's been through a lot of it, so his experience matters. I mean, it's great that he's there. Great that he's there, and it's great that you can put him in a situational, and you know that he's not going to get exposed by anybody, right? But talent-wise, I mean, he knows that. There's a reason why he was talking about, you know, wanting to move around and be able to. He's also a team guy. He wants to win. He's done everything but win. So, you know, for me, he was talking about moving around to nickel and playing some situational stuff where they have some of those exotic packages and stuff where he can play in the slot or whatever, you know?
Right.
I mean, that's good for him. That's probably good for him.
Well, I know I'm not ready to jump on the bandwagon yet, but listening to Gabe and Teddy the other day, it sounds like Ethan Downs is having an awesome spring camp.
Yeah.
But I'm not ready to jump on the bandwagon. And God love him. I mean,
it's a good thing that he is, because apparently PJ isn't still getting it all the way. So
yeah, I heard that too. So I want to see good things for. Yeah. And another thing that jumped out at me on Gabe and Teddy the other day is how Brent has allowed Zach Alley to do his thing with the linebackers and the defense, and Brent can now focus on being the CEO and what he needs to be as far as head coach of OU.
Right.
And you've heard this, Jason. I've heard you talk on your live shows, but I'll just touch on it. Is Zach has basically in my interpretation, has simplified this difficult Brent Venables defensive scheme.
Yeah. I think it's a different voice, because they call him a clone and everything, and I think that's kind of misleading, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's misleading because he doesn't seem like he's that guy that Coach Venables is in your ass, just like Mike Stoops used to be in your face at all times. It's always loud. It's always, and listen, you remember Danny Stutzman struggled with that at first,
He sure did.
And I think that there's times that he kind of still does, but this is a guy that kind of comes in and he maybe it's just saying it a different way. And then, I think he's got his own spin on some of the stuff that that he likes to do that, is built off of Venable's system. I don't think that he has any problem running Venable's system. And I think that anything that he wants to make changes to or has made changes to in his time being away, he's been able to sell that to Brent since he got to town. Right.
Exactly.
And showing it to him and what he's trying to do and why. And then I think that Brent looks at him like he's one of his sons. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, to me, I feel like that's kind of where they are. But it's a different voice in the room. And sometimes you need that a little bit.
Yeah. What do they call it? He plays devil's advocate, I guess.
Right.
Now, I'll tell you, there's one coach I haven't heard nothing mentioned. Have you heard it? Any, especially since Coop is in the chat, has anyone heard how our new special teams coach Doug Deacon is doing?
It sounds like he's doing well. It sounds like that they're starting to get. I mean, you keep hearing that they've got a kicker ready to go. It's got one of those guys is going to win the competition. And I would tell you again, I've never understood the idea of not having a special teams guy, a dedicated special teams coordinator, coach kind of guy. When you have a bunch of different cats, assistants pitching in to be that guy, I think that then you end up it gets looked at as just kind of a secondary thing. Nothing that it's not important. When you have a guy that's his team. That is his side of the football that he's responsible for, and that's all he's responsible for. So he's going to recruit the guys to be on those teams, the special teams units. He's going to make sure that he's got the right guy. I think that, he's going to make them want to be those guys. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not out there. You're going to be like, hey, man, think about some of these guys like Jacquez Petaway, who looks like he's doing pretty well in spring practice. But, that can be, if you think about it, a lot of times that can be your way to find your way into the starting offense. You make a big return here and there and stuff. All of a sudden, the offensive coordinator's like, shit, we need to get him the football.
I need to send you some kudos.
Who's that?
There's one of our new players on the D-line that you spoke highly of last year that is just blowing it up at spring practice, and that is Jaden Jackson. And you have been saying that all along.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not the only one, but I think that he's the dude, man. He's the dude. And I think that the difference in him and first off, he's just big.
He is.
And you can't teach big.
No.
You can't teach attitude with the big, right?
Exactly.
I think that's where you saw, if you watched much of their ING stuff, he would get a lot of those double teams that normally would be reserved for Stoney. Then they'd have to switch it and double team him. And anytime they double team Stoney, then he was doing the same thing. I don't know that athletically he's as gifted as Stoney is. I think he's just bigger and heavier right now, a little stronger. And that's probably why he's a shade ahead. I don't think it's going to matter by the end of the season. I think that Stoney's going to be in there quite a bit, right?
Exactly.
I watch film, man. It's not hard to see. It's just not hard to. It's another reason that I mean, guys, if I do nothing else on my show and any other show that I'm on, I will continue to fight against this ridiculous shit that you have to be a high 4-star or a 5-star to be good.
I'll fight him any day of the week. Because what was
he was in the 400s.
I know it was ungodly. I mean, but when you look at his tape, like you said, from IMG, you're thinking, what are these people that does these recruiting rankings missing on Jaden? I mean, what more does he have to do? Break the quarterback's legs?
Yeah. Dude, come on, man. That's the thing. That's what I mean. It's like, I don't know how you could watch. And I mean, IMG's not even, how the hell do you miss one at IMG? I don't understand that. It's the best program in the country, year in and year out. It's a freaking machine. That's what they're there for. They pump out players at every sport. But yeah, Sooner Cowboys, I was saying, if you look at Benito and Perrion, yeah, you were talking about those guys. Both of those guys have talked about how that had nothing to do with Brent Venables and everything to do with the way the players that were there didn't step up. They both said that. And Perrion Winfrey's been quite outspoken about how stupid he thought both Lincoln
and Grinch.
Yeah. Because he got messed with a lot, I guess, in like at the Senior Bowl and stuff about why were they teaching you this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Why are you doing it this way? So, yeah, man, I don't know.
And once again, Coop nails it. Special teams has been bad since Beamer left.
Yeah. Well, and Beamer was the coordinator, so they were actually, that was his job, right? Again, I don't think that when you have a position coach or whatever and you probably have a couple of position coaches in different areas that are going to take over the duties when you don't have a guy, right? They're not. It's not getting their full attention. And damn it, in the championship football, somebody needs to have the full attention of the special teams units.
Exactly.
It cannot just be an afterthought, as we saw in the Rose Bowl, as we've seen. We saw it 2 years ago in the Cotton Bowl when he puts a guy that never has returned a freaking punt in his life, and it turns into a safety, and they lose the game to 2 freaking lane.
Yeah.
And even then he refused to get a coach. He was, look at the way he like immediately shut that shit down after the Bedlam game the night before he left.
Yeah.
Ultimately. He shut it down immediately in that. No, we're not going to do that. No. I think that was the last question he answered.
That was
no question about it. He had no thought of doing it. It was not important to him. It never was. I know there's a lot of programs around the country that do it that way. I think that if you get somebody like that, you get somebody like who they just brought in. Now it just gives you a leg up, right? It gives you a leg up on the competition because some of these bigger programs, Georgia doesn't have a coordinator. They have a coach, but they don't have a coordinator there. There's a lot of these, they do that so they can have an extra coach somewhere else. But generally speaking, to me, you need to have that. You need to have that.
Yeah, I caught a clip of Dion. I caught a clip of our Purdue transfer, Dion Brooks, the other day on Twitter in a video. He was having fun but balling out, and he was just saying, "This too easy." I'm going to love. I've already fallen in love with this guy. He's going to bring us so much.
Trash talk is good for the soul when it comes to that shit.
I know, and everybody forgets last year when Texas is running onto the field, Farouk is out there talking shit to him coming out of the. But yeah, I am excited for Burks. I really am, because I seen him play last year and what he's been doing in practice. God, this guy's amazing.
Yeah, man. I like that too. I mean, anytime you start seeing that where you're getting a lot of trash talk back and forth in practice, that just means they're competing, man. They're competing. That's
right.
And so,
we haven't seen this as OU fans in a long time,
The intensity seems to be ratcheted up quite a bit. Right.
And if anybody was wondering about the culture that Brent has brought back to OU look no further. How long has it been since we have seen Slinging Sammy Bradford on campus at OU, and he was at that Heisman? He's been he's been MIA, and now he just shows up. So if you're wondering about the culture Brent has brought back at OU, there it is right there. Did you see that, Jason? Where Sam come back for the?
I did. Yeah, I like to see that, man, because he hadn't been around much lately. So that's a good thing. I like it. I love Sam Bradford, man.
I do too.
And he was, holy shit.
And I don't know if this is rumors or not, but I read somewhere that Lincoln Riley didn't want him come, or any old player for that matter, coming on campus. I heard Rufus Alexander.
Even Coleman told me in Dallas that they weren't. I don't think that they were like. I don't want to say that they weren't allowed to be in the facility. I don't think that they were ever encouraged, though. He said that he didn't hear from the school the entire time that Lincoln was the head coach. And then he immediately, I mean, the first year that he got back, that Brent Venables got back, he was out there on the field whenever, and you know how he is at the spring game where he's bringing all those guys back and like coaching them up out on the field, how they're doing things, He wants to, but it's the same thing as, they weren't recruiting inside of Oklahoma either. Why do you think Oklahoma State got as good as it did during that time? Because he wasn't recruiting those guys.
No, that's why Oklahoma State got that big recruiting haul out of Oklahoma. So, well, that's gone now.
No, exactly. And I think the culture is not the same. And I don't even want to say that Lincoln's culture, I don't think it fits. And I think I think that the culture on the offensive side was probably pretty good, right? Not probably, it was good. But it's what I've said a lot, and I've been saying it and preaching it from the high mountains, that he's not ever looked at it as a entirety of what you have to be as a head coach, which is the CEO overseeing all of it. Me and you have talked about the other night, remember, about how it's good that Zach Alley can take over this defense and allow BV to take that next step and take responsibility for all of it.
Exactly. Right? He can let Seth and Joe John do their thing. He can let Zach do.
But he can also step in and be like, look, I don't like this and I don't want to see this. This is my football team and it's my record. So this is how I want it to be.
Exactly. And I agree.
I don't think that he was doing that enough last year, at certain times. There was play calls that made zero sense for the timing, on offense. And to be honest with you, I think that he had that a lot on the defensive side with Roof calling it, which is why he called more of it last year. Right. I think that that's the case. But yeah, I would tell you that overall the culture was not conducive for winning national titles. And what it allowed was for the rest of the Big 12 to kind of catch up. And he left at the right time for him. 6 and 7 was coming either way, brother. It was coming either way.
Yeah, it was. I mean, because you and I've spoke on this so many times when Brent took over. There was not one flipping starter on this team at all.
Not a real starter, no.
Not a real starter.
There had to be. Well, I would say Billy and
yeah.
But I mean, the guys that are there, the 4 guys that are left from there that have made it through, because if you look at it, you really have to look at that as that they survived Brent Venables, right? They were good enough to survive.
Yeah. And I agree. I can agree with Sooner Cowboys on this. I just got to see it, man. I've heard this so many times. Last season, OU had a pretty good defense, but strength of schedule wasn't great, and they penalized us for it. This season is a huge test. I agree with that, Sooner Cowboys.
And I think depth had a lot to do with that, didn't it? I mean, you know, when Stutzman went down, and I mean, we talked about this a lot lately the past few weeks, and it's a touchy subject with a lot of people. I think I lost some subs over it, but Darren Canick was not the dude. Whenever Stutzman went down, Jaron was not. He needed Stutzman out there to be in the right place. And once he got in his own head and started looking over his shoulder, even when Danny got back, he just wasn't very good.
Exactly.
And I'm hearing that he's doing better. I hope that he's doing better. I mean, I think athletically speaking, there's no reason why he shouldn't be out on the field. But if you ask me, I don't give a shit how heavy or light Kip Lewis is. He's the better player right now.
Kip is a beast. I mean, wait.
I just want the best player on the field. I don't care who it is. I just don't care who it is. And I think that that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. I would say the same thing about that running back room. I was not that excited about the way DeMarco rotated those guys. There didn't seem to be a rhyme or reason for that. And I think that at times DeMarco kind of has maybe a little trouble, you know, working and playing well with others.
Yeah, that was probably on his report card. And
yeah, you know,
doesn't play well with others.
I mean, from what I hear, that's the case. But I think that's, again, with Zach Alley kind of taking the reins and him trusting him to call the defense and staying out of the way. I mean, you keep hearing that he's not hanging around with the linebackers. He's all over. He's doing everything everywhere. So to me, I want to see the best guy in the game. I think that that's where the next step for him is just to make sure that, hey, guys, it's okay to play the right guy. And I think he loves Jaron Canick, right?
Yeah.
You know, BV loves Jaron Canick, but if he's not the guy, he's not the guy. But maybe Zach Alley brings something else out of him. Maybe he's able to help explain it better to Jaron Canick than what he's getting from. Maybe he gets a little intimidated by BV spitting and fire coming out of his mouth and shit all the time. You know what I mean?
Well, I've heard Jay and Coop talk about this several times. You know, Stutzman first year under BV, he wasn't all there, and then last year, I mean, he just ripped it. Right. And then
for as many tackles as he made way more mistakes.
Yeah. And so I've heard Jay and Coop talk about this, and I'm kind of on board with them on this. Well, not kind of. I'm on board with them that he's going to have a flip season like Stutz had.
Maybe so. I mean, and I think that, you know, TP's saying that too. He looked lost on so many plays, and that's what Damian Mackey was saying on K Christian's show.
Yeah,
like, look, man, he may run a 4.3. But it doesn't, you know, he's not near the fastest guy unless he's running, you know, it's a stunt that, you know, he just has to go after the quarterback, or, you know, there's no read for him to make. It's just a simple, this is what you're going to do. But when he doesn't know what to do, he's the slowest guy on the field.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
what
how many times
said. And it absolutely, if you're not playing full speed, what the hell does it matter what your 40 time is?
Exactly. And if anybody should know, it's Mackey. But if you go back,
was a bad dude, bro.
Yeah, he was
a bad dude.
But if a game, for example, where Jaron just wasn't all there, go back and look at that BYU game. I mean, he was
awful. It wasn't even. There's no other way to put it. He was absolutely terrible. He shied away from going after those guard blocks. Kip was taking those on. People were talking about his weight. Kip was taking those on and forcing the play where it had to go to.
Exactly.
Kip was doing it. Jaron wouldn't. He was awful in that game. Awful. As good as he looked in the Cincinnati game, he looked like he was completely lost. And I think by that time, he was looking over his shoulder then. Completely looking over his shoulder.
Is Connor Neer still on the team, Jason?
You know what? I'm not positive about that. I was about to look at I've been meaning to pull up that roster anyways for a few minutes, and I just keep forgetting.
And I've been saying this also, Jason, is I am so glad that Justin Harrington is back.
Dude, me too. He's there's another dude that plays with bad intentions.
Yeah. When he sees you, he's like, okay, I'm going to steal your milk money, lunch money, and whatever money you got in your pocket.
I like that guy, man. He's a baller.
So where do you I've been hearing that Desan McCullough has been taking up that Will linebacker spot. Does that look like his permanent home, or
maybe? I think that he's played that a lot more. He's a lot more comfortable there, right? And I think that he's also pretty comfortable if you slide him down into a defensive end type. He's just such a good athlete and hard to get. You know, you think of DNs as they're monsters, and he's a big guy, but he's not heavy. You know what I mean? He's not super heavy, but that speed is on another level. And he's got that, that wingspan that matters too, that he can kind of get leverage off of. And look at the goal line stand against Texas. Gave you all you need to know. He was in the backfield immediately.
He was.
Place.
He was. Right. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
But do you think I heard this, and I'm not going to throw any shade or anything, but I heard this that somebody.
Yeah, I think he did go to the portal. Connor Neer. That
this one particular individual is tired of hearing "In Big Bill We Trust." Now I'm going to say this.
Who said this? Please tell me.
I'll tell you offline.
Okay. If it's who I think it is, who gives a shit what that guy thinks?
But if you don't trust Big Bill, then
what are we talking about? What the hell are we talking about?
Come on. Creed Humphrey, Zeus. Hell, Wanye Morris is a damn rookie, and he got a Super Bowl ring this year.
Brother, he's had this will be what, 3 years in a row with a first rounder?
Yeah.
And Tyler Guyton was a freaking failed on the bench defensive tackle when he brought him in.
He was.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Who is this person? What are they? You don't have to say it out loud. I'm just saying, what are they? Who are we? The ability for people, the people that have zero ability to look past the surface of what's going on. This is a large amount of fans, but come on, man.
I'm going to send you a private chat.
Go ahead. If it's who I think it is, I don't give. I'm like, whatever.
But like I said, I'm looking at this O-line. Yeah, it's got its ups and downs right now, but
the Cowboy says it's not me.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. See, it wasn't you, Sooner Cowboy. I promise.
Are you sure that you weren't kidnapped, Sooner Cowboys? Come on.
No, it wasn't Sooner.
Dad. Oh, Dad.
Well, damn,
dude, that guy's a whatever. Yeah.
I
know who you're. Yeah. That sounds just like something he would say. It sounds like something he would say, and I don't. I like that guy enough, but yeah, whatever, man. What do you want me to say? Here's the deal, and here's what we're talking about then. So what we're getting at, obviously, the conversation was steered around why are they not basically looking like all pros against what probably is an all pro defensive line right now?
Yeah.
We're expecting this from brand new guys. And look, it doesn't mean that they're not going to be good. It means that right now they're behind where these unbelievably don't tell me that Nigel Smith wouldn't have been a 5-star if he'd went to Ohio State with Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson's put out 15 first-team All-Americans and 12 of those guys went in the top 5 of the draft. 12. So just going there gives him a 5th star. This is one of those guys that immediately looks at stars and never looks at who's looking at him. So the fact is that Bill Bedenbaugh is one of those guys that identifies, and the hardest place to identify talent is on the offensive line. There's less of those cats too. There's less of those 300-pound 6'6" dudes.
And Jason, I bet you dollars to donuts that let's flip the script and say the offensive line was blowing out the defensive line. These idiots would be saying, well, our defensive line sucks. I mean,
sure. Exactly. Look, think about this. The spring game's 2 weeks away.
Exactly.
It's 2 weeks away. And what happens every spring game? So last year, except for last year. So last year they looked a lot better on defense, and all of a sudden the offense didn't look great, right? Dylan had a hard time moving the football. They had a couple of good ones, but most of the time it took a while before they really moved the ball against the defense. And the defense looked really good at the first of the season too. But what did that? Everybody was like, oh, they're going to suck. They're going to suck on offense. They're just, get rid of it. Hey, we don't even need Dylan Gabriel. Put Jackson Arnold in as a freshman. We don't need Dylan. Yeah. Thank God they didn't listen to those people, because look what they were a top 5 offense.
They sure
top
was.
5 offense, right? And that's with not really having the best running game situation going on for really the first half of the season. Plus, everything that Gavin Sawchuk did was basically after Texas.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing he had the year before. That's the concern that I have with Gavin, is that he seems to be a second half player.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but here's my deal is that what are we doing here? Because, but it's every year you can have that, you run the risk of, it looks like they're really shitty on one side of the ball or the other. Because if Dylan and them go out there last year and light the defense up, then we're like, oh, same story with that defense. They're god awful. God awful.
I've seen it time and time again, especially on our local news media here. They break down the spring game at the 6 o'clock news. Well, OU's going to have a sucky defense this year because the offense lit them up, and then OU just goes in and which that was back during the Stoops era.
Brother, but that's the point is that none of this shit. I mean, it's easy to get over, and this, I'm the guy you're talking about. They've kind of been over thinking things and over exaggerating on some of this stuff from day one anyway. So look, as much as I look at it and a lot of fans do that, it's easy for me to do it. You can look and see something, and if you don't look a little deeper than just the surface and what you're hearing from certain people, you have to evaluate a lot of different things. What I would tell you is I don't know that it's a bad thing that the offensive line doesn't look very good right now. I think that really that lets you know that this defensive line is a problem. Okay, it's a problem. And there may be better offensive lines in the SEC. I'm sure there may be to start with anyway, right? By the time you get to the season, they're going to be on another level than what this offensive line is today at spring practice. But the fact is, having that one side dominate a little more than the other, you think that BB is going to allow them to back down? Do you think, and at some point you're going to get tired of getting your ass kicked. If you're on that line, at some point you're going to get tired of getting your ass kicked. And you know how it is. Look, intimidation is a weird, if you've gotten beat, and I used to play basketball a lot, and if there's a guy that's just kind of taking your soul and, he's getting around you every time, and you got to figure something else out because it's just embarrassing. But once you finally are like, screw it, and you just stop caring and you just go be an athlete again, is generally when you get better, right? It's generally when everything's kind of straighten themselves out, and then it's competitive again. All you need is a little bit of success. I think about Jaden Gibson last year. The dude he couldn't catch a cold.
Yeah.
He couldn't catch a cold. And now he's the alpha male on that receiving corps.
He is. That's about the time I started watching your show, and I remember I thought he was going to leave. I thought he was going to leave. I thought that he probably should leave. Me and K. Chris were both saying it might be the best time for him to go. Thank God he didn't. Thank God. He missed, and I'm reverting back to the spring game last year. He missed that wide open pass. I think that's going for And we're going, what the holy cornbread hell? This guy could.
He had done it in the bowl game,
Yeah. But look,
he's a dog now. He don't.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude is out there running. I mean, he's out there saying all kinds of crap. I mean, you want to talk about trash talk? From what I hear, it's all coming from Jaden Gibson, and you wouldn't have heard a peep out of him this time last year. Nothing. Right. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is that it just takes that one little bit of success to turn things around sometimes.
Exactly.
It just takes that little bit of success.
And this is the thing I'm looking at.
The light turns on.
If you look at our first 3 games when we start the season, who is it? We got Tulane, not the open. Who's the opener? Temple?
Yes, Temple.
Temple, Tulane, and
Houston, then Tulane, I think.
Houston, then Tulane.
Yeah.
There's you a perfect time right there for tuning up.
Sure.
There's your tune-up time.
Mm-hmm.
And
hey, I think the main game comes at a perfect time too. Right before you got to go and play. Right before you got to go and play. Or is it right before the Missouri game? I guess is the main game, or is it before the Alabama game?
Which one? The
Maine.
It's in between Alabama and LSU, I think.
No, it's before Alabama,
okay.
Before Missouri won.
Okay.
But either way, yeah, they're for as bad as the schedule is, for as uneven as the schedule is comparative to the other Red River rival. I do like that they had strategic bye weeks and that last game coming against that kind of in-between game. They gave it to them at a good time between important games, I would think. I think, yeah, so that's where
you and I've discussed this too. I want Jackson to do great things, but you let him, God forbid it happens. God forbid it happens. But
I'm still here.
If we lose Jackson and Michael Hawkins comes in, it's going to be hard to take that position away from Mike.
Yeah, I agree. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that either. But the guy's a stud. The guy's a freaking stud, man.
You're looking at the biggest Jackson Arnold supporter right here. Here.
I love him too. I think he's a baller, man. And but I think that the one thing that he doesn't have that Michael does have is, and look, Jackson can run a little bit too, but he just don't run like that. God. And then again, though, I mean, look, that's a good thing though too, to have a guy pushing you. And the good thing about Michael Hawkins is I don't think that he's trying to. I wouldn't say that he's not trying to win the job, because I think you better be trying to win the job.
Yeah.
I also think that he's not. I also think that he's not in a hurry to have it.
No,
it's a good thing to have a father like he has, right? Who's going to push you to be competitive, but it's also going to keep you grounded. And he went to OU. He wants him to stay at Oklahoma, I think. You know what I mean? But I also think that the other side of it is that and then he's got Kevin Murray, who's his quarterback coach. Kyler waited around when he could have went anywhere else and played.
Kyler
could. I mean, he didn't have to wait around on Baker.
That's right.
It paid off for Kyler to wait like that.
Oh yeah, it paid dividends. And I agree with Jimmy on this. I've been saying this: put Petaway in the backfield and let him return kicks and punts. Don't let that damn G freaky back there
in Texas. I think that this is incorrect. Let me tell you what. I think that that's why they went and got Casey Thompson, because they didn't know for sure what they had in Hawkins, because he's a freshman. Believe me, if it's more than a spot duty thing, Casey won't see the field. You're not going to keep Michael Hawkins out of action.
Or it's like you say, he's an emergency in case of emergency break glass, Casey.
Yeah. If he gets hurt in a game, you might see Casey go in and finish the game, right? I can see you do that. But if it's a 2 or 3 week long injury, Michael Hawkins is in. They're going to give him the game plan and let him prep for it, and they're going to go with him.
Exactly.
That's what's going to happen.
Do you think with the portal opening up here soon that BB's maybe gets a O lineman out of the portal? Or
it's hard to believe that, because who the hell's going to go anywhere unless you're mad or something, you know?
Exactly. I mean, ain't this the portal that usually gives you the bottom feeders of the portal?
Well,
not the bottom feeders.
Yes, except for now. I mean, they've literally changed everything to where there's just no control. You know, you start looking at that stuff with what happened with the kid from Alabama that goes to Iowa, and now he's already headed back to Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening to what Josh Pate's saying, that's not even going to be like a big time story in comparison to what else is going on.
Exactly. But I'll tell you what I'm excited for, and people can sit here and call me crazy, but we touched on it earlier today. I am excited about seeing some definite, solid tight end play in this club this year. Because last year with WD-40 and duct tape, we had Stogner. But how long's it been since you've seen a tight end room like this, Jason?
I don't know that we have. I don't know that we have. And I mean, you look at the guys that, Coop was talking about, the guys that are in line for the next year. I
know.
They're lined up with Bauer. And then, man, I think that, because I think what I could tell on the film is it looks like Devon Mitchell. I mean, he looks the part.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like he's not as quick on his feet right now. Like maybe he's got a little bit of heavy feet with learning, and maybe that's his way of going. And I don't know. Maybe he's wearing ankle weights for all I know. Shit. But it just looks like maybe he's not quite there. I don't think you're keeping him off the field, and I think that he struggled a little bit with blocking. But I also don't think that you brought Devon Mitchell in to be a blocker.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't think that that's what you brought him there for. This is not our grandpa's tight end.
No.
Position, right?
No.
It's not. So, I don't think that there's an athlete probably on. I mean, there's a couple of guys on this football team that you can say, athletically speaking, who's their equal? You know what I mean? Right, and I think Bauer Sharp is another one of those guys, probably.
Yeah, there ain't. I hate to say this, and I don't want you guys in the chat to start throwing lemons and oranges and salad at me, but you know who Bauer Sharp is reminding me of in a way, in a small hint. The great Keith Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Bauer Sharp reminds you of Keith Jackson?
In some ways. Wow. In some ways.
Explain.
His size. Yeah. Dalpois, throw lemons at Mike.
Yeah, I'm chuckling right now. Don't worry.
Now, am I saying he's as great as Keith? No, we'll never have a tight end like Keith Jackson. But the way I know that's a tall order, but from what I've seen,
Keith Jackson, you're gonna tell me that Jermaine Gresham wasn't just as good?
Well, yeah, Jermaine Gresham was, but I mean, there's a word I'm looking for that I can't describe how he looks like Keith.
Heavy, I'm just like that strong guy. Yeah, right. He just looks like kind of almost a linebacker playing tight end.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you seen Keith Jackson, you're like, that ain't no damn tight end at all.
Right,
and
bro.
Boy, would he shot. And that's
he still doesn't look like one. He still looks like he should have played down lineman or linebacker, right? I mean, at the NFL level, he looked like that. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That oh, and I agree. And I agree, Sooner in Texas, guys. And yeah,
Yeah. I
I'm
don't know if
just
anybody was as good as him. But you're and
nobody
that's not
will
what
let.
you're saying. That's not what you're saying. You're comparing them to style wise, body wise, the way that they
Yeah.
maybe play. He's kind of a
Yeah.
throwback of what you're getting at.
Yeah. Kind of a throwback to Keith Jackson.
Or somebody like that. And they were different, right? Mark Bavaro, guys like that back in those days, that they were just kind of different dudes. That today's tight end is more, it's a glorified receiver, right?
That's all it is. But like
Jermaine was unbelievably good, man, guys. Come on now. Look, I love Keith Jackson as much as the next guy. And that 85 Sooner team is really my all-time favorite team. That's the team that I grew up on and made me love the Sooners from day one. You know, that was the look, I'm not hating on them. But if Keith Jackson can be 1A, but it's not number 2 situation with me when it comes to Jermaine Gresham. It's 1B.
Yeah. I mean,
that's how good he was, and he was that good.
Was he or was he not one of Sammy's number 1 targets slinging that ball?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Why would it not be? The dude was 6'7".
God,
the dude was 6'7" and caught everything, and would not only did he have speed, but he break tackles, but he would compete for footballs. He was a bad dude in the NFL too.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad he had to go and play for that shit Bengals team that he had to play for. Good grief.
I know.
I know. And then they, whenever he left, they sent him to the Cardinals, and they were shit too.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I mean, sometimes it just kind of happens that way. You were talking about sending the old running backs to Detroit all the time.
Oh my God. Back in the late 60s and 70s, if you had a number 1 back in Oklahoma, you knew where he was going to Detroit, and he was going to get destroyed. I mean, Steve Owens, Billy Sims, Leon Crosswhite, Jack Mildren, all of them which Jack Mildren was a quarterback, and he went to Detroit as a fullback or something. I can't remember. But Detroit destroyed them. The only back out of Oklahoma they didn't destroy was Barry Sanders.
Imagine that's because Barry left early because he didn't want to get destroyed. You know, hell, he would have freaking put the running back record so far out of Emmitt Smith's reach, it wouldn't even have been funny if he'd have played somewhere else. Or if he'd have just hung around for another 3 or 4 years and stayed healthy. But he was sick and tired of what was going on there too. That's the reason that Barry. Yeah. No, in the end, I think I like the fact that you have 2 guys that were H-back tight end guys as the offensive coordinators now, because I think that the best offenses we've seen really had that guy that was kind of, well, you think about the 2000 team. I mean, didn't they both play on it? Or Joe John came after him, right?
No, Joe John came after. Let's see. The tight end.
Seth was definitely a part of that team. I remember.
Yeah. Seth was, and then the tight end was Trent Smith.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yep. So that's what I'm saying. But if you think about, I mean, he was good. Seth was good, man. And then Joe John was a stud. But I even think about the Lincoln Riley offenses, and I think you're going to see more of a Lincoln Riley type of offense here than what you saw with Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
They're real similar anyway, and I think you're going to see kind of a mix between it. What I loved about Lincoln Riley was that Oklahoma ran the ball downhill with Lincoln. I remember talking to Coach Leach one time, and he would bitch about it. He'd say, "That's not the air raid. That's not what we do. We don't run the ball like that."
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that just to bust Lincoln's chops, by the way.
Yeah.
But which, Mike, he did that.
Yeah.
But that's what, seriously, what makes him really good was that he has found a way he schemed a running game out of the air raid in a way that nobody else did that, including Mike Leach, including Hal Mummy, including guys like Bryles. But Bryles was more it was whatever they called it, the bear raid or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
Or the the Houston Veer, whatever it was, but it was a little different.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, out of the running, out of the.
I'm not arguing with you guys, man. I'm not saying he wasn't great. I'm not calling him better than Keith. Just let me go on the record here. I didn't say he was better than Keith.
And I'm going on the record and saying there was just some physical attributes that I seen out of Barry Sharp that reminded me of Keith. That's all I was saying.
Right.
But who out of the running back room do you see being our shining star this year, Jason?
I don't know. I'd like to say Gavin Sawchuk. I think that, but we got to see him stay healthy all year and be able to do his thing. Looking at him, the guy that you immediately think of is Caleb Hicks right now. Yeah, because he just looks the part, man. You see pictures of this guy, and what little I've seen a video on him. Whew. He's got tree trunks for legs. He's ripped up. He just looks like that dude that can be that guy. I also wouldn't be that surprised if you saw Xavier Robinson kind of step in and make a mark there. And I'm telling everybody, we haven't seen him yet, but Taylor Tatum is a different kind of running back. He is a dude that he's 23-mile-an-hour runner. That's fast. Elusive. And not only that, he's big and strong too. He's not just, he comes in already heavier than Sawchuk is. I'd say he's just a different kind of guy, right?
I'm trying to think of this transfer running back.
He was highly rated, but I don't know. He seems like a guy that he's probably a little like Tawi. That you give him a couple of carries here and there, maybe third down carries, stuff like that. Who's to say? Maybe he comes in to spell somebody for a series or something like that. I wouldn't expect him to be like, if he's your feature back, it's probably not a good thing. It's probably not a good thing.
You know what my dream is, and I dream about this every night. Taylor Tatum and Next Rob in the background. In the backfield.
If he could stay healthy, Mega would be great. But
yeah, Megwa. But that's what I dream about, is having Tatum and Next Rob in the backfield.
I think you will at some point for sure. I don't know if it's this year necessarily, but when you're 240 and if they chisel you down to 225, that means they chiseled stone off of you and made you nasty.
Yeah.
So, I think it's the good news is that I think you could end up seeing one or two of those guys out of there by the end of the spring. Depends on what happens.
Yeah.
But I just think that, with Megwa, he's never stayed healthy, guys. He's always looked like that guy every year. How many years in a row have we talked about Emeka Megwa?
Exactly.
So at some point, you got to stay healthy, bro.
Yep, you got to stay healthy.
It's the same thing that we had with this is what we had the last few years with the guy that just left. Never mind. I don't even want to. And I don't like to badmouth any of these guys, but sometimes what is your best ability? It's availability. Yeah, me too.
I'm sorry, but that would make
Welch and Jennifer Lopez. Yeah, I was talking about. What did I say that night? I was talking about Gwen Stefani. Same thing.
Same.
Majors. Yeah.
I'm hoping Javonte Barnes can stay healthy this year.
Right. Because Javonte looked like that dude, but that's something that Teddy and Gabe were talking about, that when they were freshmen and there wasn't a big expectation out of them, they were just out there, you just go hard.
Yeah.
And see what happens. Then whenever a little expectation gets thrust upon you, then, that changes. Hey, listen, pressure makes diamonds or bust pipes.
It sure does. As Shawty would say.
Yep.
Well, Jason, we've been going about an hour and a half, brother. I got to get some dinner down my neck. I appreciate everybody in the chat tuning in. Jason, tell everybody where they can find you.
Hall of Fame college football. It's at CFB-pod on YouTube. You can always catch me at JW_HOF on Twitter as well. X, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, man, we're still trying to crank up and just do as much as we can content, but looking forward to the spring game, hoping to be out there to get to meet up with all these guys and all you guys in the audience as well that are going to be there. So thanks for having me on, Mike.
Oh, not anytime, Jason. Heck, I got you a toothbrush right here in the studio for you.
Absolutely.
Hey, while I got you on, before I give my spiel, I've got an idea for when football season starts on the Sunday afternoon after the game.
Sure.
I was going to ask you if you would like to be a guest on my what I'm going to start. It's going to be called the Oklahoma Football Firing Line, and I'd like to have you and one or two more guests on to break down the game.
Cool.
That was so. If you want to jump in, I hope you do.
Yeah, I gotta. Sundays are open. Saturdays, me and K. Chris are still going to be doing the after games. I think we still got to finish and have one more chat about that, but I think we are. So
Okay.
yeah, but Sundays are open for me. I'm in. You know me, man. I'm always down to talk Sooner football. I love it.
Yeah, all I was going to do just bring y'all in and get y'all's thoughts and what y'all saw of the game the day before and just kind of break it down. Well, y'all can find me on YouTube at Sooner Legends Podcast, where I talk about the history of the OU football program, and I have been getting my feet wet talking about the new stuff, and I'm at 273 subs, Jason. And
that was fast. That was fast. You were just at 250. You're already almost 25 up. Let's go. That's what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
I mean
creeping on 500. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm over halfway there. So y'all keep liking my videos. Keep commenting. Y'all know that when y'all comment on my videos, I will comment back. I never leave y'all hanging on a comment. I love chopping it up with y'all. And if y'all know people out there that loves historical stuff on the OU Sooners, direct them to my channel. Tell them, hey, we got a guy who loves to talk to history. Get them to subscribe. And so we're going.
Barry Trammell from the other day. That was a great show, by the way. You've been putting out some amazing. I love the historical stuff, man. I really do.
Yeah, let me tell you what that was. If having a big time guest like Tram on my show, that really wow, I can't say enough.
He can be hard on the Sooners sometimes, and I know that pisses a lot of people off, but he knows a lot of stuff about Oklahoma football, man.
And that's what I try to tell everybody. I like Tram for the historical part of OU, because if you want to talk 1970s football, brother, Tram can chop it up with you. So thank y'all for dropping in. We thank y'all, and we'll catch you again later. And y'all,
yeah, motherfucker.
and y'all take care of yourself. And we gone.